Well, hello, everybody. Pat Clark, JT Thiessen. Welcome back to the Brand 101 podcast. Today, I'm so excited to have both of you. JT, I know I got to have you, I think it was a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. So we are going to make sure that we wear out your Brand One welcome so you're completely sick of me. But Pat, I haven't had a chance to have you on the podcast. I haven't got to chat with you in a little while. So I'm always excited. I think you are the first brand that when they said you were coming on board, they mentioned to me where you got your start from. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's 30 minutes up the road for me. Nobody is in Greenville, South Carolina. So I was tickled to death that we're from the same place. So welcome to the podcast. Welcome Bright Brothers as the brand. We're so excited to have you with us today. Pat, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are with Bright Brothers and why it made so much sense to have you here with us today.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Blessed to be here. But, I'm Pat Clark. I'm the co-founder and chief training officer here at Bright Brothers. I'm super excited just to be able to present the brand here today. But what we do, right, is exterior soft washing. So we do a lot of couple things that are under the same umbrella, if you will, right? Because we do non-pressure roof and exterior cleaning. So that's your homes, that's your gutter in and out. We also do brightening, concrete cleaning, patios. A lot of people need these services. I always say, there's a funny thing that we say here is like everybody works in or lives in a dirty building. So like there's no shortage of work, right? But just to coin that is like we also do gutter protection with Raindrop Pro gutter guards. And then in the off season, right, because we know exterior cleaning can be a seasonal business, but the beautiful thing is we actually offer full service holiday lighting. And what that means is we design, we install, we maintain, and we take them down, and we give you 5 years of cheer. So this is a residual business, and that's the beauty part in it, right? Is like you get to see these customers over and over again. You can cross sell. We're also offering, we just launched at our live event that we just had here in October, permanent lighting, because that's a really big thing. So if you like to have parties on your patio, on your, if you're in Florida and you got a screen enclosure, we can light it up for you.
That's pretty impressive. I didn't realize that we added a whole another line of business there. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Now tell me how you got started in this, Pat. Like, were you just a guy who woke up one day and you're like, you know what I love? I love pressure washing. That's my jam. Like, there's got to be a big story behind this.
I know it's actually funny because you never grow up and you're like, I'm going to be a roof cleaner when I grow up, right? Like, it just doesn't happen.
Well, you're going to find the one guy on this podcast who'll send you an email.
Right.
Actually, Pat, I did.
That's right. But no, I started kind of the school of hard knocks, right? So I had a kind of a rough background. You guys can know a little bit about my story there, but rough background. I moved to South Carolina, actually. I was doing grading for a builder in 2006, and the painter was prepping the houses. And I went to my boss. I'm like, dude, what are you paying the painter to pressure wash these houses? He's like, I'll give you $100. Not knowing anything, right, about pressure washing. I'm like, freak, $100, you know what I mean? Back in 2006, I was making maybe $600 a week. So I was like, dude, if I can do 3 houses in a week, I'm set. So my wife, she's 8 months pregnant. She's out here helping me. And we're pressure washing these houses on the weekends, just that side hustle and just trying to get a little bit extra money, right? My first son was on the way. Well, fast forward just a little bit, and the economy started going down, right? We started not building as many houses, and the writing was on the wall. And I was like, I don't want to go work for somebody. I really want to, just paint a good picture for my family, again, because of my background, right? I didn't want to go work for the man. I didn't want to, do that kind of stuff. I knew I had that entrepreneurial spirit and I can make a customer happy. But I'll tell you what, guys, I didn't know anything about KPIs, like marketing. I didn't know anything, right? But I thought I did. You think you know everything. And so I'm like, dude, I'm going to put out like 500 flyers. And so I remember the last day at working with the builder, they ended up going out of business. But I quit a little bit before that. They docked my pay. And again, writing was on the wall. So I ended up going out on my own and started doing mobile auto detailing and pressure washing. And at that time, I knew I could go to like, a State Farm or whatever and knock on their door and say, hey, can I, wash and detail your cars today? But I'll tell you what, it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I remember calling my wife at the Lowe's on Woodruff Road. You know what I'm talking about. I went and knocked on this guy's car and I'm like, dude, you're eating lunch in the car. I said, you know what? It's a beautiful day outside. I'll detail your car. You can sit in the shade. And he's like, what? He's like, why are you bothering me? He's like, leave me alone. And I'm like, holy crap. Like I've never had anybody like treat me like that before. Right. And so I'm just like, oh, and I couldn't find anybody to wash their car or their house. So I call my wife. I'm almost in tears. You know what I mean? You get the nose so many times. And sure enough, you know, the end of the day, somebody's like, hey, I need you to clean my house. Right. And then it's like, yes. But it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And then I went to this, it was called the National Cleaning Expo back in the day. This was 2008 now. That way it kind of keeps you up to speed. So 2008, I'm on my own, still building like blood, sweat, and tears, right? And so I go to this National Cleaning Expo. It's a 2-day event. I was like, I went to my wife. She's like, look, we don't have enough money for the hotel for a 2-day event. I was like, all right, well, hell or high water, we're going to make this work. I put a mattress in the back of my 1995 Astro van. And me and my wife were like, we're going to have fun. We're going to, just hang out in the van. We're going to sleep in the mattress. And we did. And the second day, there was a guy in front of me and he went to the guy next to him and was like, hey, I cleaned this roof and I got $1,200 in like 3 hours. Me and my wife looked at each other. We're like, no freaking way. Like that doesn't happen, right? Or we were small thinkers, right? Small thinkers at the time because I was getting $600 a week. And so I'm like, there's no way. So I get on back in the day, right? There's no Facebook. There's no YouTube really. I'm on forums. Back in the day, there was forums. So I'm like going through all these forums and everything, doing the research. So anyway, started really learning about roof cleaning, got a business coach, learned KPIs, learned like systems, right? And so from that day on, I was like, you know what? I'm going after it. And I remember one winter, it was like rice and beans. It was tough. And, we were praying about it. My wife's like, should we keep doing this? You know what I mean? Type deal. And my brother worked for the railroad actually, and he was going to get me a really good job. He's like, dude, type up the resume, send it in. You can work for the railroad. It's like $30 an hour starting and benefits. And I'm like, dude, that sounded really good right now. Right. Because, as an entrepreneur in the beginning, you have no benefits. And so anyway, so I go into this stuff and sure enough, my mom gives me this plaque and it's the Winston Churchill quote, never, never give up. And then I talked to my foster brother on the phone. And I'm like, dude, he's like, man, like the guys who really make it, they grind it out and it comes with time and you build it. And he's like, never, never give up. And I'm like, so I go to my wife. I'm like, I keep getting this quote, never, never give up, Winston Churchill. And she's like, I am too. I'm like, no freaking way. Tore the resume up, full steam ahead. So just went after it. And then next year we ended up doubling and then tripling. And we started going to, 3 trucks, 4 trucks, 5 trucks. And so we started with Precision Pro Wash, and that was the original brand. And we built it to 10 locations. And the cool thing was I started doing teaching, and people remember me from that event because remember, I slept in the van and they were asking me to come back and teach now because they were like, Pat, how are you growing so fast? What are you doing? And I read this article a long time ago, and it said, if you put the people in place, the money will come. But you as a leader need to train those people, and you have to replicate you. And so I took that to heart, and I was like, I can't do this all by my own, right? Like I had people help me. I had my brother-in-law help me when I needed it, but you needed a core team, right? And so that's what I started doing. I started hiring people, and I started really getting good at sales and marketing. And we're going to tie this in here at the end, but sales and marketing is what we really did, right? We were a sales and marketing company that just happened to do X, and that was exterior cleaning. And so we started really diving into marketing. I started replacing myself. I got my first lead tech. I moved him into sales, and it was me and him doing it. Then we were booking up like 3 trucks. I'm like, oh, we're on to something, right? And so I started teaching these things to the industry, right? I started giving back and talking to my past self. And then I started doing motivational speaking because I was getting people that were calling me and they're like, dude, you helped my marriage, or you helped my business so much, and all these things. It was really, really rewarding. And that's where my new passion kind of unfolded. And so I started a company called Sales Boost, and we started teaching sales nationwide, and people were coming in and they're like, dude, how are you doing it? And they were like, I want to become a part of the brand. And that's how we grew pretty quick. To 10 locations nationwide. We were in Seattle, Washington. We were all over the place. So I was teaching people how to clean nationwide. And it was really cool. And so people started to, ask me, they're like, dude, you ever think about selling your business? I'm like, no, man, it's going really good. And so sure enough, I was helping a guy in Connecticut with Raindrop Pro Gutter Guard because I was helping the industry kind of raise their average ticket, right? They say the tide rises, all ships rise. And that I really am a firm believer in that. Like if you have a scarcity mindset, you hold it all in, you don't share, right? That only hinders yourself as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. And so we started giving back. And so Stephanie actually talked to the gentleman in Connecticut, and Stephanie is our president, right, with Bright Brothers. And so she ended up finding out who I was, and she's like, oh, wow, Pat's doing a lot what Larry Janeski's doing in basement systems. And so she let Larry know about me, and sure enough, I get this phone call, and I had like 2 or 3 voicemails from Larry Janeski. No idea who he was at the time. And so, I listened to voicemail, and I'm like, I talked to my wife, right, at night. I'm like, this guy Larry keeps calling me. I said, I Googled him, and you should see what he's doing with Contractor Nation and like everything I was trying to do, but 10X, like 10X, right? He had the marketing, he had the sales, he had everything dialed in. And I'm like, this is amazing. So I call Larry and I'm like, Larry, thanks for leaving me a voicemail. What's going on, man? He's like, I really think you need to come up to Connecticut and see what we got going on. I think me and you can work together. And I was like, okay. I'm like, all right, let me talk to my wife and I'll get back to you. Right. No idea still. So I talked to my wife. She's like, man, I don't really want to go all the way to Connecticut. Right. I'm like, no, trust me, we really need to go. And so I convinced her, right. I always say I'm pretty good at sales because if I can convince my wife to marry me, I mean, I did pretty good. So I'm like, yeah, we need to go. And she's like, all right. So we brought my 2 younger kids up there. We flew up there and spent 2 days. And when I walked into Contractor Nation, I was blown away. And I can't like put this place into words, right? It's like Google 2.0. If you're seeing Google's office, right? It is amazing. The floors are different color. The construction's different because Larry comes from a construction background, right? And he put his uniqueness into his facility to create uniqueness, right? Throughout his office. Like every office is designed different. The tree house, they literally are in tree houses in their office. I mean, how cool is that? So my wife is like, we're walking around and we're doing a tour. And then, we sit in the glass boardroom and we go over what we're going to do. And, we were going to franchise Precision Pro Wash, but my contracts, right? Local lawyer, whatever, they weren't really up to snuff. And not to mention there was other Precision Pro Washes out there. Right.
Yeah.
There was Precision Power Wash. And I would have had to send a lot of cease and desist letters. And I love our industry. It's a really good industry. I was like, maybe we should just switch it up because it doesn't say holiday lights and we do holiday lights. And so, we went to the drawing board and we ended up going with a couple different names. And then actually our COO, Austin Pastini, came up with Bright Brothers Exterior Washing and Holiday Lights. And we loved it. We love the brand. I mean, you can see right here, guys. Check that out. Like when I'm going through the airport, right? It's like facial recognition. They go right to my logo. So the branding's on point. But no, we were really excited. And I was like, it doesn't matter the brand that we have, right? Yes, it's really good, but it's the heart of the company. And that's truly what we have. It's the systems, the procedures, the training that we have that builds Bright Brothers. And I don't want to get too far into it. I know we got more questions, but that's the story.
Well, Pat, I can tell you, I've seen the Contractor Nation headquarters, and it's insanely impressive. And JT, you've got a really unique background to bring to this industry, and I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. Like, how does Bright Brothers stack up to the experience that you've had inside this industry? I think you just saw the Contractor Nation headquarters recently. I want to know did you get the same effect we did? Are we blinded by the light, so to speak? Like, tell me a little bit about you've never been one to mince words. So let's hear what you think.
No, I'd be happy to. So yeah, I was just up in Connecticut actually at the Contractor Nation for a Discovery Day. So taking some candidates through the building and more importantly, having them meet the people that are responsible for the growth of the brand, the people that are in the trenches answering the phones each day on the call center, that are in the marketing department generating leads for the franchisees. And so it was great to get up there. And not only is the building itself incredibly impressive and very unique, like you said, Pat, but the people there are really committed to what we're trying to do and the growth of Bright Brothers as an organization. And so it's really exciting to partner with them, because even though we're still an emerging brand in a lot of ways, we have this huge powerhouse behind us that has the capital, the experience, the people, the buying power, all the things that we need to get this thing moving a lot faster than we could if it was just Pat with Provision Wash, sleeping in a van, trying to figure out how to do it by himself, right? And so we're a long way from there anymore. And certainly, one of the businesses I built in the past or helped build was also a power washing company that's a franchise today. And one of the things that I love about what we do here is the multiple revenue sources. It's the ability to, because if you're in New York and all you do is power washing, you're shutting down for 3 or 4 months out of the year, and you're laying your guys off. You're hoping to come back in the spring. You're working on your equipment. You're hoping that you can keep paying your bills until the weather breaks. And we wanted to take all that seasonality out of this business. So by adding the holiday lighting, both the take on and take off and store holiday lighting, and now the new permanent solutions, which is amazing. It changes things quite a bit, and we can keep the same people on staff, use the same vehicles without having to turn people over. Same thing goes with the gutters and the raindrop gutter restoration business that we do. And it allows people to have several different points of business that they can do year round, so that you keep things going, right? Because it's hard when you got to lay people off, right, Pat?
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine that. I mean, so I'm a franchisee myself. And we have a water mitigation franchise, and I cannot imagine needing to lay off employees like that mid-year or at the end of the year, especially at the end of the year when it's like, that's when they need the job the most, right? You've got Christmas coming, you have holidays, and to just hope that the guys that you've invested your time, energy, and training into are still there in the beginning of the year would be awful. So hats off to you to figure out how to solve that problem, because I can't imagine there's a ton of them that come back. You might get 20% of them that would come back regularly. So that's a great solution.
And it's cool because we're actually taking other people's employees during the time.
I can imagine so.
Yeah, when they're laying people off, we're hiring. So it's pretty cool.
So again, I have a water mitigation franchise, and my husband and I learned firsthand. When you first become an entrepreneur, you're really excited. Oftentimes it's one of the first times that you've owned something that was yours, right? You're not a W-2 employee. This is your baby, and you're really excited to tell people. I always thought I would own a cupcake shop. I'm notorious for telling people that. I don't know why I thought that. I can't bake for crap. So I don't know why cupcake shop was like in my head, but that's what I thought it would be. We got water mitigation, right? That's essentially cleaning up dirty water. It's not cute. I can promise you that. It is not sexy. And we really had to work through the idea of like, how do you share that? Like what my husband in particular, my husband was one that he was so excited to tell people like, oh, I've got my own business now. But I kept hearing him try to reframe what he was doing to make himself sound different. And I can imagine that you guys get the same thing. So Pat, you've been doing it for the longest here. Talk to potential investors who need to see past what it is that they're doing and see what this means for themselves and their families. How do you frame that? How do you help other people see past that?
Yeah, and it goes into home services, right? I think this is like an looked industry, to be honest. I think this is so much potential in here where you can get in, do an amazing job for a homeowner and see the difference, right? Like you're doing a service for your community because you're cleaning, but not only cleaning, you're treating because of our soft wash system, right? We're cleaning and sanitizing. And with the last 2020, right? We know that sanitizing is a big thing now. And so with what we're doing, it's not just pressure washing, right? So like when you're like, hey guys, you're going with your golfing buddies and you're like, hey man, I just invested in a pressure washing company. It's not, right? Like we're a home service company that does soft washing and holiday lights. And it is a booming industry, right? Like we get so many calls. It's really cool to see. But the fact of the matter is, like, again, everybody lives in or works in a dirty building. You have residential and then you have commercial, right? We're talking big. I mean, shoot, we did the 12-story Marriott in Spartanburg, right? Like, that building, we clean that. That's pretty awesome to do, right? And so, like, there's a lot of opportunity out there. And the cool thing is, you don't need a licensed electrician to do what we do, right? Like, you get into a home service business and you want something that's easy, right? And when I say easy, like, it's pretty much turnkey. You get 2 employees, you put them out on the truck. We have the training, we have the support. It's not seasonal, right? So you're not having to worry about, okay, how am I going to lay them off? What am I going to do? How expensive is it, right, to lay somebody off? But I think that's the really cool thing is, like, yeah, we're an exterior cleaning company, in the home service field, which is booming, right? And we know that home services, AI isn't coming into home service anytime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big factor. I was reading something the other day that said the next wave of millionaires will be the electricians and the plumbers and people in the home services space, right? Because that's the area that AI isn't able to take over, right? They might be able to start diagnosing problems, but they can't physically be there to fix them. And I think that that's such an important shift that I think is happening over the next year to 2 years, is that what used to be seen as like the less desirable jobs are now the jobs I think people are going after. They're the ones that are going to be there next year, right? And I mean, that's something we've never had to deal with in the past. Can you imagine? Like,
Yeah, pretty
I
amazing.
think too, Alex, the idea that it's all just beautification of properties is also a little misleading too. Like, I had a friend the other day that called and said, "Hey, I need your company's services at Bright Brothers because my insurance company is flying drones over apartment buildings that I own, and if the roofs are dirty or have mold or moss or algae, they're actually pulling our insurance." And so, part of what we do in cleaning these roofs especially is to maintain their quality and make them last longer. And now the insurance companies are using technology to check up on you, which they never used to do before, right? And so the service is becoming more and more needed every day.
man, what a great point. I've never considered that.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane.
And
Well,
we're
tell
seeing
me,
that. I
go
was
ahead.
just sorry, Alex. I was going to say, and we're seeing that with roofing manufacturers as well. They're putting, zinc in shingles, and they're offering a warranty against mold and algae. Well, guess what? Bright Brothers is right there, ready to do their warranty work because we know this is a hardy algae. We have the science and technology to back what we do to get the longevity out of the roof. And the manufacturers don't want to pay for a new roof, so they're willing to pay us to clean the roof.
I mean, that's fantastic. Well, tell me this, Pat, who are you looking for as an owner, right? If we're talking about how people can overcome, this is the home services space. This isn't a pressure washing or just a holiday lighting style opportunity. Who is it that you're looking for to represent this brand, right? These people have to have some pretty special character traits. So tell me what it is that you're looking for, or who you feel would be the most ideal owner of a Bright Brothers franchise.
Yeah, so really, we're looking for somebody that wants to take control of their destiny, right? Go out on their own, that, wants to work with their 2 hands, right? Build a legacy for their family. We have a lot of people that come to Discovery Days, and, we kind of see a theme there, right? They've worked for it, they've been behind the desk, right? They want to get out there and do something for themselves and take charge of their time and go on vacation and build memories with their family. That's what this business and this model allows you to do, right? But somebody that's going to come in here and, put it all in because, with starting a business, you got to be all in. And so, somebody that's going to take a brand and really represent the brand in an amazing way to go out there and, hit the ground. We give you all the tools to do it, but, take control of your legacy, and build something for your family. So that's the person we're really looking for, and this could be any walks of background, right? It could be IT. We've had, folks from all kinds of backgrounds that come in here and, we make it easy for them.
Now,
I think,
Jake,
too, Alex, it's just important that we're not looking for people to become franchisees to actually do the work. Certainly, there may be days where they need to jump out and throw their boots on and help somebody out, their crew out, because they need an extra set of hands or somebody called in sick or something along those lines. But we're really looking for people that want to build a business and focus on sales, marketing, building their brand locally, networking with HOAs and property management groups, and there's a lot of opportunity on the commercial side of this business. But that's a little bit more of a relationship than the digital response that you'll get to people saying, hey, I just need to Google somebody to come wash my driveway or hang my Christmas lights or whatever that might be. So I think really people that want to build a small team and that are interested in helping their community, but are more focused on sort of sales, but a relational sales is really the key person I think that we're looking for. That, like Pat said, there's a lot of different people that can come in and check the box for this because it's pretty simple to learn. But we're certainly not looking for a man with a van and a plan. We're not looking for a guy to come out here and ride around in his truck all day and do the work.
Well, no, JT, you have experience inside of a ton of different home services. I mean, that's been the world that you've existed in. So what makes this compelling? Why would a broker, why would a potential investor, why would they look at this industry maybe as opposed to another one? What do you find so compelling about this?
Yeah, I think we touched on a couple of them already. It's easy. There aren't a lot of moving parts. I've been a part of some big companies where there's a ton of inventory, manufacturers, shipping, tariffs, all these things. This doesn't have any of that, right? What are we selling? We're selling water, labor, and a little bit of chemical here and there. And so it's very simple. There's not a lot of moving parts. The margins are great because again, we're selling a high quality product that's got a high average ticket per home, but not a lot of expense attached to it. And so we can make really good margins at the end of the day with the business. And it's also something that there isn't 40 of them out there. There's not a lot of different franchises that are all in the power washing space. There's just a couple, and we're all growing together at the same time. But this is a very, very fragmented industry. Probably 98% of it is Chuck in a truck or a man with a van and a plan, a guy that went out and bought a power washer at Lowe's and now is in the power washing business and has no idea what we're doing. By the way, we go out and fix a lot of their mistakes a lot of times because they mess things up, and then we got to call the professionals in to do it right. But there's an opportunity to use our technology and our marketing to put a real professional spin on what's been a very blue collar business in the past and to go out and really dominate markets from a franchise side.
Yeah, I mean, I want you to hit that for a minute, Pat. I think that in home services in particular, one of the most common misconceptions is I can do it by myself, right? If this industry is so great, I can do it by myself. I'll go buy a truck. I'll go buy the pressure washing, piece myself and I'll do it. You and I both know just how expensive of a mistake that can be. And I'm sure, given what you've done just with Sales Boost, you've seen that over and over and over again. Can you talk a little bit about some of the systems and the processes that were put in place from a franchise perspective and why a person may want to choose the franchise route versus the I'll do it myself, the DIY kit?
And just to JT's point is like, we are in a fragmented industry, right? Where people just go out and they do a quote and it might even be on the back of a napkin I've seen before, right? So when we come in, like we come in with the logoed shirt, right? We park the car in a certain way. We have a simple 8-step process to make it easy for you to level up the game. So when you come in, we are the meanest, greenest soft washing company in the area. Right. So I think it speaks to our systems as far as like our technology. We have everything on our iPad, makes it very easy. So you're like, oh man, I got to learn this whole sales process. Yeah. I built it out for you. So all you got to do is know the slides, right? A little tips and buzzwords. We have tools, terms, and technology for you, but it really excels you. So when you go into, the home and you present Bright Brothers, that you are the top shelf white glove clean, because the fact of the matter is we do fix other people's mistakes, right? It looks like Zorro showed up. They left lines in the side of the house, right? That's the reality. Even you get homeowners that want to do it themselves, right? But the fact of the matter is they're causing more damage, right? If you have a pressure washer and you got a red tip on there, you can cut a pumpkin in half, right? Like we have everything designed to employee proof your company. We have large orifice tips. Everything's color coded, right? It's simplicity into this. This is 20 years of headache that I had to do, right, and overcome, that we put in place to hire people to do the job effectively so you don't have to, that you can put people in place. And that speaks to the marketing, right? How do we get to the quote in the first place? Well, guess what? We have treehouse marketing. We have over 148 people that are working behind the scenes on your behalf, so you don't have to know Google Analytics. So you don't have to build the website at 9 o'clock at night like I had to do back in the day, right? We do that for you. We have people that are trained to be able to bring a little bit of AI now into this, where leads are coming through Chat GPT, right? Leads are coming from different sources that you may not even know about. Well, guess what? We have 148 folks that are focusing on the next thing for you on your back. And it's amazing to see these guys fight for our franchisees. I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is like, we have success people. If you need anything answered, like I just got a call, they were like, hey, I ran into, this, boom, I'm on the phone, or Austin Pacini's on the phone, or Tyler's on the phone, right? We have folks that are right there that are literally a call away whenever. So you don't have to, it takes the worry out of it. Whereas back in the day, guess what? I was on an island all by myself. And it was scary, right? Starting your own business. Can you go out and do it and buy a pressure washer from Lowe's and Home Depot? And maybe 30 years later, you got 2 or 3 people, right? Or, we got Bright Brothers, where we have the systems to really slingshot you, if you will, forward. So you don't have to have the headaches that I had to go through or Larry had to go through. We just put a lot of that stuff in there, and not to mention leadership. I think this is another big thing that, we don't look at as well or as often, and it's SOE, the School of Entrepreneurship, where Larry put in 30 years of knowledge and videotaped it, right? So if you have a lesson or something, if you want to know how to get more money out of your business, right? We have Carving the Diamond, and it's how to pull a healthy profit out of your business. You watch that video, and now you feel confident where you can go out there and do that. We have that for so many bite-sized, easy videos for you to absorb to really level up your leadership as an entrepreneur, as a home service professional, and your team, right? So you don't have to do it. And we're really good at that.
I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. There's so many people that I've talked to that feel like they're DIYers. I can do it on my own. I don't think people realize just how expensive some of those mistakes are. Like you mentioned, you need to understand Google and how to work Meta and all of your analytics. Well, that's a really expensive lesson to learn, right? It's really expensive when you finally got that really big, beautiful house in the nicest neighborhood and your employee killed their Japanese maple because they didn't understand what products they should or shouldn't have had on the house. And now not only do you have to replace that, now you have a bad Google review and nobody else in that neighborhood's going to use you because they all want to know what happened to that sweet little Japanese maple that Mabel had, right? Those are really big mistakes that you don't realize just how big they are in the moment. They create potholes later, right? And I just think that in general, entrepreneurs or investors looking at franchising, I think it's one of my favorite parts about the franchise model in general, is that some of those mistakes that just aren't easy for, I don't want to call them a common person. Franchisees are the furthest thing from common, right? It takes a lot of courage to jump into a world like that and to trust somebody else to hand them a business in a box. You have to be a very different person to do that. But I just don't think that these individuals can see some of the pitfalls that could come. I mean, you probably have horror stories in addition to living in your van. I would definitely put that in your horror story category. But you have tons of stories that you could tell about, like, hey, these are the things I had to learn the hard way. These are the employee training elements that I had to learn the hard way, right? That I can remember when we first started our business, I was like, oh, it's not that important to do background checks. I learned very quickly how important it was to do background checks, right? And it's like one of the most important things you can do. So I just think it's so nice to have a team behind you, and not just a team as impressive as Contractor Nation, who says, okay, we're at this step in the process. Here's the elements of this step that we don't want to miss. And here's the pieces that we want to make sure we really, really get right. So I think it's really helpful.
And it's funny, it's cool you talk about that, because we have a piece of technology too that builds up the culture. And I think this is a big thing with Contractor Nation as well, that you'll see very right when you walk in the door is like the culture, right? Everybody's smiling. They like where they work. We have tenure, right? And so same with Bright Brothers, we brought in apps and stuff that you can have the pulse of your business right on your phone, that you're building a camaraderie with your team. So when they're out in the field, and with a service business, sometimes your technicians, they're in the morning, you do a morning huddle, and then they're out and they're not feeling the love from the office, right? And so what we've done is we created a company app that everybody loves up on the team. So whenever they post like a before and after picture of the home, everybody's doing the fist emojis or the, the fire emojis, whatever it is. So everybody feels connected. And we've brought a lot of that stuff technology wise into Bright Brothers. So it runs smoother for you. So you don't have the headache that I used to have of like, we used to have company meetings. They're like, Pat, we don't hear anything from you. Like communication is the problem here. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm slapping you on the butt. Not really, but slapping you on the butt and sending you out. You know what I mean? Like loving up on you in the morning. What are you talking about? But it's when they were out in the field. And so we incorporated things like that. So these are things like you're saying, sometimes we take them for granted, right? Like now we have them in place and we don't necessarily think of them. But as a new franchisee, you're like, wow, this is gold, right? Because these are things that we had to learn these lessons and know and like have good people leave because I didn't have this stuff 20 years ago. Now we do. So you can keep those folks, happy, running and fighting for you as the franchisee.
Yeah, for sure. Now, JT, I understand we're just getting started with franchising, right? We brought in our first few. We're making sure they're up, they're running, they're happy, they're doing well. Now we're ready to pour gasoline on the fire. Tell me what Bright Brothers looks like today. How many locations do we have? Where are they at? Give me some insight.
And we've got 9 franchisees with 15 locations, I believe, getting ready to add a couple more here, which we're excited about. Certainly plenty of space left to grow in most of the major markets. We get a lot of people that ask about different territories available, and it's rare that we don't have anything available or that's not available except California. We're not registered in California yet, but everything else is pretty wide open as far as the opportunity to grow with the brand.
I think holiday lighting is what a great opportunity. You can avoid that seasonality with your staff, but it's also something that everybody thinks of last minute. I think like 12 out of 10 times it causes a fight between spouses. So if you can push this off into a service sector, everybody's going to love that. So
well, one of the beautiful things too about the 5 years of Cheer, we sign people up for 5 years, which holds their price in the same place for 5 years to have the lights come back. It also holds their date, which if you're like me, I'm always the one that forgets. And by the time I call, the lights are going up like 3 days before the holidays. Yeah. And, and it's kind of a waste of money at that point, but I still have to do it because I like to be married. But, so being able to keep your space, your time, your price, and also your date's a big deal. And then for the franchisee, it's repeat business every single year. You can put it on the books for the next 5 years. And as you continue to build that, it's a big deal.
Yeah, I'm going to have to call Bright Brothers this year. Last year, my husband and I called to even try to get quotes. And we were too late, just like you said. I mean, we were too late. They couldn't even get them off in time. So we ended up with a lot of really tacky blow up animals in the front yard. So my kids loved it.
Again.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have to give you a call this year.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, JT, Pat, thank you both so much for joining. Anything you guys want to say to our listeners before we close up? Anything you want to make sure that a potential franchisee would know?
One word of advice would be, look at the item 19, look at our average ticket, right? And really dive into what you want to do, how you want to serve your family, going on vacation, whatever it may be. But look at this business as a whole. Look at it as a system. Look at the model and see how it's going to serve you and your community at a high level.
Yeah. I think that becoming a franchisee was probably one of the best decisions that my family ever made. Financially, it was fantastic. I mean, it blew our expectations out of the water. But I think one of our favorite parts about being a franchisee is that we actually get to work with the team, right? We get to lead a team. We get to inspire the culture of our own team, right? And be a part of our community. My husband's so proud to get to serve his community. So I think Bright Brothers encompasses all of those factors, right? Even you saying, hey, listen, I didn't realize how important it was to stay in touch with my team while they're out in the field. It sounds like you guys have really embedded that into every aspect of what you've done. So I would echo exactly what you said, Pat, that it's really important just to take a look at it. It can change your life in the best way possible.
For sure. And it's really rewarding, super rewarding.
I would agree. JT, anything from your side of the fence, my friend?
Jumping into a franchise, especially one that's on the emerging side, is scary, right? I lost count, but it's somewhere around 4,500 families become franchisees over the last 30 years. And including my own, my mother, my own brother, my sister, my nephew, my wife. They all became franchisees, and for somebody that's had that much experience, even signing that franchise agreement myself, you probably can relate to this, Alex. Was like it should have been easy for someone that's been doing it as long as I have, and it was still scary, right? When I bought one for my wife, and I can tell you that for all that fear, if you can just channel it and ask the right questions, make the right decisions, work with your advisor on our team to find out, is this the right fit for you? We're not trying to sell you something. We're trying to mirror and marry up a great brand with great people that have the same vision and desire for success. And we will take you through that. And if it's not a good fit, we're going to be the first ones to tell you not. But you got to get past that fear, because out of all those people that I put in business, I could probably count on one hand the number that it probably have come back and said it wasn't what I should have done. Whereas the vast majority of them come to me with hugs and handshakes and say, this has been the best thing I've ever done. Thank God you let me in this. And so, I think most of the people we work with are going to be in that category. And I just really encourage people to take a look at this business because I think it's got all those elements.
I would agree. I would agree. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. We hope to have you back soon.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Alex.